From demonic possession to haunted houses, here are 5 of the most terrifying horror moments ever caught on camera. Number 5. The Last Scream. In January of 2016, a woman named Jessica Camilleri visited her mother's house. She had no idea that she would be witnessing something that no one should ever see, hear, or feel. Jessica's mother, 57-year-old Barbara Camilleri, was a real estate agent in Sydney, Australia. She had been showing a property to potential buyers, and it seemed to have gone well. But when Jessica arrived, her mother seemed different. The 57-year-old was acting strange, almost like she was under the influence. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she wasn't making any sense. Jessica called an ambulance for her mother. She was then taken to Westmead Hospital, where she remained for 2 days. It was clear that something was wrong with Barbara, but what could it possibly be? While Barbara was in the hospital, things only got weirder. She started making strange clicking noises. Then on January, she started screaming. Jessica and her father stood by their mother's bedside as she screamed at the top of her lungs. She was screaming for her life. Jessica later told the press, "I thought she was going to have a heart attack." The medical staff rushed into the room, but they couldn't calm the woman down. They had no idea what to do. Barbara kept screaming for over an hour. The sound was so loud that it echoed throughout the entire hospital. Finally, the staff were able to sedate her. But why was she screaming so loudly? No one knew. The doctors ran tests, but nothing came back abnormal. They said that it was likely all in her head. After 3 days, she was released from the hospital and went home. But this is where things get really scary. Barbara's screaming didn't stop. It continued for another 6 weeks. But she wouldn't stop screaming day or night. It sounded like a horror movie, but it was real life. And there was no one else in the house when it happened. Jessica was at school, and her dad was at work. So it was just Barbara alone in the house screaming. How did she have the strength? At first, the family thought that maybe she had some kind of brain disease. But after 6 weeks of non-stop screaming, they knew that this was not the case. The noise was driving Jessica crazy. She told the press that the constant screaming was driving a wedge between her and her father. They barely spoke to each other because they were both exhausted and annoyed. On March, Jessica's mother finally stopped screaming. She fell to the floor dead of a heart attack. She had been screaming for her life for over a month. But what could have caused this? Some people think that she might have been possessed by a demon. Others say that she was simply mentally unstable, but no one knows for sure. What do you think happened to Barbara? Let me know your thoughts. No, for a ghostly encounter. A security guard was working the night shift at an apartment complex. His job was simple, just had to sit in his little booth and make sure nothing suspicious was going on. One night he heard some commotion outside. There was someone walking around on the roof, thinking it was no big deal. The guard let it go. The next night he heard the same thing. Someone was walking around on the roof again. This time he decided to investigate. The guard got out of his chair and walked over to the door. As he opened it, he saw a terrifying sight. Standing in front of him was a ghost. It looked like an emaciated old man. It was bald and had a long white beard. The guard quickly closed the door and locked it. He tried to convince himself that it was just a figment of his imagination, but the next night the ghost returned. The guard was sitting in his chair when he heard footsteps. He turned to the window and saw the ghost standing right outside the glass. It waved at him. The guard was so scared that he fainted. When he came to, the ghost was gone. The next morning, he told his boss about what he had seen. But he was fired for being a liar. The guard never forgot about the ghost. Years later, he told the story to paranormal investigators. They helped him track down the ghost. It turned out that the ghost was a former resident of the apartment complex. He had passed away years ago, but his spirit never left. No, 3 demon baby. In 2012, a young boy named Timmy Burton was playing in his family's backyard. He was having a great time until he spotted a tiny baby in the bushes. The baby was crying, but when Timmy approached, it suddenly went silent. Curiosity got the better of him, so he picked up the baby and started walking toward the house. But when he got closer, he realized that something was wrong. The baby had sharp teeth and its eyes were glowing red. Timmy screamed and dropped the baby. It then transformed into a horrifying demon. Before Timmy knew what was happening, the demon leaped onto him and dragged him into the bushes. The boy's parents were nearby, but they couldn't hear their son's screams over the wind. By the time they found him, he was gone. The police searched for Timmy, but his body was never found. Many people believe that the demon baby was responsible for his disappearance. Number 2, House of Horrors. In 2019, a group of friends decided to explore an abandoned house. They had no idea that it was one of the most haunted places in America. The home belonged to a serial killer who had murdered over 100 people. The friends split up and explored the house. That's when the paranormal activity began. One of the friends was exploring the basement when he heard a voice behind him. "Get out," it said. The voice was raspy and evil. He turned around, but there was no one there. He tried to tell his friends, but they didn't believe him. They thought he was just trying to scare them. But then strange things started happening to them as well. They were being scratched and bitten, but when they looked around, no one was there. The temperature in the house was freezing cold, and objects were moving on their own. Then they heard footsteps above them. They were being stalked by something evil. The group of friends ran out of the house and never looked back. No. One evil clown. In 2016, a group of teenagers decided to go to an abandoned fun fair. They had heard rumors that it was haunted, but they didn't believe it. It was until they saw a clown doll hanging from a tree. The doll was creepy enough, but then one of the teens decided to take a picture of it. When they looked at the photo later, they noticed something terrifying. Hanging next to the clown doll was a human head. The doll was also smiling, but its teeth were sharp and bloody. The teens ran away in terror, but not before being cursed by the evil clown. Every single one of them ended up getting seriously injured. One of the girls broke her leg, another boy cut his finger off, and a third teenager was hit by a car. The clown doll was clearly angry. But who is it, and why is it haunting the fun fair? No one knows for sure. Some people say that the clown doll used to belong to a serial killer. He dressed up as a clown and lured children into his van. He then took them to the fun fair and hung them from trees. But that's just a theory. There's no evidence to prove it. Thanks for watching. Which of these moments was the most terrifying? Let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more videos like this, stay tuned.